Today in our 2004 Chevrolet Silverado, we'll be installing the B&W Turnoverball Underbed Gooseneck Trailer Hitch with custom installation kit. Part number BWGNRK1067. Alright, here's what our gooseneck looks like installed. As you can see, it sits down flush in the bed of our truck with our safety chain loops here in the bottom channels of our bed, so we don't lose any of our valuable space in the bed of our truck at all. Our safety chain loops are spring-loaded for ease of use. Our ball, which has a 7,500 pound vertical load limit and a 30,000 pound max gross trailer weight rating. You want to consult with the owner's manual of your Silverado and not exceed the limits of the vehicle itself or the hitch and cause damage to either one. Now, when we're not towing, our ball can be stored in our gooseneck upside down. We have this easy use handle right here to lower it on down in. This way, we don't have to worry about misplacing the ball, and it's readily available for us when we're ready to tow our trailer again. What I really like about the B&W Turnoverball system is not only is it a very high quality kit and made of durable materials which will last a very long time, but the ability to store a ball upside down like this is a feature that a lot of other gooseneck hitches don't have, giving you full access to the bed of your truck, but still have your ball readily available for when you're ready to tow. Now, the Turnoverball system operates by the spring-loaded handle mounted in the driver's side wheel well of our truck. When we're ready to pull our ball out to switch it around, be in the stored position or the tow position, you can grab the handle, pull it out towards you, turn it clockwise, and it'll lock open. Once you have it flipped, just turn it back counterclockwise and release, and it'll lock your ball into place. Alright, to begin our installation, for video purposes, we removed our spare tire to give us a little more room to work. Now, we will lower our exhaust. There's a series of exhaust hangers, one by the tailpipe section and two by the muffler, one behind it and one in front of it. We'll spray some lubricant on them so they slide off a bit easier, and we'll use a pry bar to prop them off. All right, now that we have our exhaust lowered a little bit, it gives us access to remove this section of our exhaust heat shield. We'll need to remove it from our rear cross member here towards our front one up there. I made a mark to see where we need to cut it at. So we'll use a cutoff wheel in order to do this. Okay, now we need to make a mark in the bed of our truck according to the instructions for your bed length. We want to make sure we measure from the end of the bed and not the end of the tailgate. Now we'll measure from wheel well to wheel well, and we'll make sure our mark is centered side to side in the bed of our truck. Now we'll drill a pilot hole in the center where we marked. Okay, now we'll use a hole saw to make our final hole. Okay, now we'll take some black spray paint and spray along the inner edge of where we made our hole. That way we don't have to worry about any rust in the future. All right, now on the passenger side of our truck and our wheel well, we need to make a notch on the bed side here in order for our rails to slide into place. We marked it out according to the instructions. We used the same cutting wheel that we used earlier in order to cut out our heat shield on the exhaust. That's probably your best bet on this since it's pretty thick metal. Now we'll use our spray paint again so we don't have to worry about any rust. All right, here's a quick tech tip for you. Before we put our rails in position, our one that's a solid piece of metal, we'll want to run our bolts through them a couple times just to help clean out the threads of any of the powder coating. We'll do the same for all the bolt holes. Now before we install our front rail in the truck, our front rail is the one that's an angled piece. We want to install one of our bolts in the second hole over from the left. Take the bolt in, take the O-ring that's provided, and roll it over it, and this will hold it in place. Okay, now we'll slide our front rail in position. Again, this is the angled rail that has the bolt that we just installed. That bolt will go towards the driver's side of the vehicle. We'll slide it in through the notch that we made, and we'll slide it towards the front of the truck. Now our back rail is the one that's a solid block, the one with the threaded holes in it. We'll want these threaded holes facing towards the bottom of the truck when we have it installed. But in order to get it in position, we have to rotate it 90 degrees like this. Then once we have it in place, we'll rotate it up so these holes are facing towards the bottom. Sometimes you need to use a pair of channel locks or pliers to help rotate it down. So we'll take our pliers, get some leverage on it, and twist it. Okay, now if your truck is a gasoline powered one, you'll have this evap canister behind your gas tank, and it's going to be in the way when we raise our center section up. So we'll press in on this tab here on the side and slide it back, and we can swing it on down to give us a little bit more room. Now we'll try to get our front rail to rotate up as well. Now we'll raise our center section into position with the gooseneck ball facing towards the rear of the truck and our handle section facing towards the driver's side. We have our center section in place for our middle and our right hole here in the front. We'll slide a bolt through, a lock washer, and then we'll use a nut. Okay, our holes for our back rail, we use a bolt, a lock washer, and a flat washer. Okay, there's 4 holes for the back rail and only 3 on the front. Okay, now that we have all of our hardware started, we can move on to the next step. Okay, now we'll assemble our frame plates. This is the passenger side that we're doing. The driver's side is the exact same way. These 3 square holes here, we'll install our 3 carriage bolts into them. Take our plate, drop it on over. Place on 3 flat washers. Three lock washers. And secure it with 3 nuts. We'll just loosely install these nuts right now so we have room to adjust it later. Okay, we'll take our slide plate now, slide it in position. We'll slide a bolt through on the front, slide a flat washer over it, a lock washer, and we'll put a nut on. Now we'll take a bolt, lock washer, a flat washer, and we'll thread it into the back rail and get it started. Now we'll take one of our large 3/4 inch bolts, a flat washer, and one of our frame spacers here. Slide it on. And we'll go through this hole right here, making sure our frame spacer goes in, like so. We'll put a lock washer over it, and we'll thread on a nut. Okay, now we'll take our U-bolt, come from behind the frame, and slide it into our holes. On the bracket, we'll replace on a lock washer and a nut. Now we'll repeat the same process on the driver's side of the truck, making sure when we install the U-bolt around the frame, we don't pinch any wiring harnesses or brake lines. All right, in our case, our truck had a brake line replaced, so this is the factory brake line where it would be. It would be recessed in this pocket here, so you could work around it without any problems. These wiring harnesses might be recessed inside that pocket as well, or they could be like this. So we made sure we put the U-bolt behind them so it doesn't pinch the wires. Now we'll start to tighten up all of our hardware, beginning with our center section bolts here first. We're using 3/4 inch sockets and wrenches for this. Okay, we have our center section tightened up to our rails and our rails tightened up to our frame brackets here. We'll now snug down these 3 bolts here. And we'll do our U-bolt too. Let's make sure we go somewhat evenly on it. Now our big 3/4 inch bolt, I have an 1 1/8 wrench on the back side of the bolt holding it in place, and I'll tighten down the nut using an 1 1/8 socket. Okay, now we'll torque all of our bolts for our center section to the amount specified in the instructions. Okay, now we'll torque our big 3/4 inch bolt to the amount specified. You'll want to have someone on the other side with the wrench holding the bolt in place. Now we'll torque our U-bolts evenly until they meet the specifications. Our side bracket here may bend some until the bolts reach the maximum torque. That's completely normal. All right, now we'll do our 3 carriage bolts that hold our side plates together. Okay, now we'll torque our side plates to our crossbars. Okay, now we'll take our handle assembly, and on the driver's side, there's a hole. You slide it in through like that, twist it to go up, and work it towards the driver's side of the truck. Now, the side of our handle with the loop on, we want to have it towards the front of our vehicle. Take our carriage bolt here, and our nut, and we'll slide it through the mechanism, through the handle, and we'll secure the nut on. Now we'll snug the nut down with a 13mm socket. Now we'll make a mark with a center punch for our safety chain loops. We'll be using the 4 holes closest to where our ball drops in. Okay, now we'll drill a small pilot hole through where we marked. We'll make sure we repeat the same process on the other side. Okay, now we'll drill down and enlarge our holes to the proper size. Okay, with our holes enlarged, we'll make sure our safety chain loop drops down and is easy to pull up and goes back down smoothly. We'll take it out at this point and put some spray paint in like we did for the other holes that we drilled. We'll be sure we do that on both of our bolt locations. Okay, now that our paint's dry, we'll reinstall our bolts. Okay, now that we're underneath our vehicle, we'll take our spring, the big end, will face up towards the gooseneck. We'll thread on our lock nut. Now we'll do the same for the other U-bolt. Okay, now we'll tighten down our nuts until about a 1/4 inch of thread is exposed to the nuts. And we'll repeat the same process for the other one. And now we'll put our evap canister back up on the gas tank just by sliding it on the tab.
until it locks into place.
Okay, now we'll raise our exhaust back up and reinstall the hangers. And that completes our installation of the B&W Turnoverball Underbed Gooseneck Trailer Hitch with custom installation kit, part number BWGNRK1067 on our 2004 Chevrolet Silverado.
Click the link below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com.